Rain lashed against the high-rise windows of the Langford Tower like 1,000 restless fingers tapping for entry. Inside the marble-lined lobby, Emma Carlyle tightened her trench coat and scanned the elevator bank. It was late AR 9:17 p.m.A. And she was supposed to be at her father's charity gala 2 miles uptown, smiling for cameras, pretending the Carlyle name still carried the warmth it once did. But first she needed to finalize an unorthodox agreement that had been haunting her for weeks. A man emerged from the far corridor, his stride easy but purposeful, dark hair damp from the weather, a leather satchel slung across his shoulder. And Noah Briggs looked like the kind of person who belonged anywhere but under fluorescent office lights. Emma exhaled, pressing the envelope of contracts to her chest. "You came," she said, more relief than greeting. "I said I would," he replied, voice even but curious. $200,000 for a 3-month arrangement. "You sure you want this?" Emma nodded. "It isn't about want. It's about necessity. The board keeps pushing me toward a respectability. They think a fiancé copyright makes me trustworthy. I can run my company, but I can't run my reputation with how-to-broken bar optics." She hated the word. Noah studied her, not unkindly. "And you think I'm the right man for the performance? You don't have baggage that Google can find," she said with a small, wry smile. "And you have a way of putting people at ease that's rare in my circles." They shook hands, the contract sealed by both ink and silent understanding. She noticed how warm his palm felt against her cold fingers, a grounding sensation she hadn't realized she'd been craving. When they stepped into the elevator together, Emma punched the button for the 42nd floor. Noah leaned casually against the brushed steel wall. "So what do I call you in front of the cameras? I, sweetheart? AM? Keep it simple." "Emma's fine," she said, then frowned as the elevator jolted. A faint hum cut out, replaced by silence thick enough to hear her pulse. The lights flickered, then dimmed to the red of emergency bulbs. "Looks like the storm's stronger than they predicted," Noah murmured, prying open the maintenance panel to inspect. "Power's out." Emma's stomach sank. "You've got to be kidding me." Thunder rolled outside, a low rumble that rattled the glass tower. Rain sheeted so hard against the building that the sound was like static filling every pause. Emma sank onto the bench lining the back wall, hugging her knees. She wasn't claustrophobic, but she hated stillness. Noah crouched, testing the emergency phone. "Dead. Backup generator must be fried." She laughed without humor. "Perfect. Trapped with a stranger I just paid to fake my boyfriend." He settled across from her, folding his arms. "Could be worse. At least I'm charming." Despite herself, she smiled. "Modest." 2 minutes stretched. The storm howled. Somewhere deep in the shaft, metal groaned like an old ship in heavy seas. Noah began talking light things. His childhood summers near Lake Michigan, the time he accidentally entered a salsa contest thinking it was beginner-friendly and left with a sprained ankle. Emma found herself laughing, the tension loosening. "You're good at this," she admitted. "At what?" "Making disasters feel like coffee breaks." He tilted his head. "I've seen worse storms, worse nights. People survive more than they think." The quiet after his words pressed against her ears. She caught a softness in his gaze, an echo of something unsaid. For the first time, she wondered who Noah Briggs truly was beyond the contract. Hours crawled. They rationed the bottled water from her briefcase. Emma confessed she'd skipped dinner for another meeting, so Noah tore the protein bar he carried into uneven halves, insisting she take the larger piece. "You're the boss," he joked, but his tone was gentle. As the clock ticked past midnight, their conversations drifted into deeper water. Emma shared the exhaustion of inheriting a company when she was barely 24, the whispers that she was lucky, not capable. Noah listened without judgment. In return, he spoke about leaving a steady construction job to care for his younger sister after their parents died, piecing together freelance work to keep them afloat. "I needed this contract," he admitted. "Not just the money though." "Yeah?" That'll save my sister's college fund. I needed to believe someone trusted me enough for something important. Emma blinked. Pretending to be my boyfriend is important to you. It is, he said softly. And sometimes that's enough. Lightning strobed across the narrow window, veiling his face in silver for an instant. She saw the lines of tiredness near his eyes, the earnestness stitched into his brow. It unsettled her in ways her carefully curated world never had. By dawn, the building's maintenance team finally restored power. The elevator lurched upward, humming back to life. Yet Emma lingered in the red-lit memory of that night, the confessions they'd traded like currency. When the doors opened, reality rushed in, full of emails, board meetings, and the fatal dissection aid they'd just contracted. For the next weeks, Noah played his role impeccably, meeting Emma's colleagues, walking red carpets, smiling for photographers. But in quiet moments, he'd catch her watching him with a question she couldn't yet articulate. One evening after a particularly grueling fundraiser, Emma found herself leaning against the balcony railing of her penthouse, champagne untouched. "I thought this would feel emptier," she said. Noah joined her, hands in pockets. "And does it?" "Not exactly." Her throat tightened. "It feels a broken barrel than I planned." He looked at her for a long beat. "We said no," lines blurred. "I know," she whispered, but neither moved away. Days bled into each other. They navigated charity events, skeptical reporters, and the quiet sanctuary of late-night dinners. Emma began noticing Noah's quiet acts of kindness, how he redirected conversations to shield her from intrusive questions, how he carried her grandmother's frail hands during a hospital visit as if holding spun glass. Then a letter arrived, handwritten, addressed to Emma but no sender. Inside, "Noah Briggs isn't who he says he is. Ask him about Cincinnati, 2018. Her fingers trembled. That night, she confronted him in the kitchen. "Tell me what happened in Cincinnati." Noah's jaw tightened. "I knew this would catch up," he exhaled. "I was working on a construction site. A scaffolding collapsed. A man died. They pinned negligence on me because I was the foreman that day. I fought it out, proved the equipment was faulty but the company needed a scapegoat. They settled quietly, sealed records. I walked away with a stain no one can scrub." Emma's breath caught. "You didn't?" "I didn't kill him," Noah said, voice rough, "but I carry the weight every day. That's why I take jobs like this. Nobody hires a foreman with that shadow." She reached across the counter, covering his hand. "You're not the villain here." Their eyes met, something unspoken threading between them. It wasn't romance born of contracts or desperation, it was recognition. Two fractured souls finding steadiness in shared vulnerability. Weeks later, when their engagement term ended, reporters clamored for wedding dates. Emma stood before microphones and said, "Some truths can't be staged." She looked at Noah, smiled softly. "But some hearts are worth trusting anyway." Noah squeezed her hand under the table. "So what now?" Emma glanced toward the skyline, dawn gilding the storm-scoured city. "We write our own script. No contracts, no performance. Just a broken virus." It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was honest, human, and beautifully uncertain. The storm had trapped them once, but kindness and truth had set them free.